Welcome. My name is Matt Beeson, and you are at the first ever virtual NDOT Certified Asphalt Technician Program, also known as ICAT. I'm going to talk to you today briefly about the course purpose, an overview and introduction of the course, and kind of walk you through the manual. And we're going to get started. Again, my name is Matt Beeson. I am the Director, Division of Materials and Test with Indiana Department of Transportation. The ICAT course is all about hot mix asphalt and specifications and testing hot mix asphalt. So for those of you that don't know, hot mix asphalt is one of NDOT's biggest expenses every year. I'm sure you're all members of the traveling public, and you have noticed that the vast majority of pavements that you drive on in Indiana are asphalt. You see some concrete, but well over 90% are asphalt. And so a number of years ago, NDOT realized we needed a way to validate that the properties that we specify for the HMA was being met and that we were getting good material. And so one way to do that, just like a lot of other industries, is to develop a quality control, quality assurance model, also known as QC/QA. So I want to point this out because you'll see this referred to throughout the week and throughout some of our specifications. And there are two parts there, obviously. There's quality control, which is the side of it that the contractor is performing the test. So as part of a QC/QA system, we are asking the contractor to perform testing to control their mixture production so they can have more knowledge of it. Prior to having a QC/QA model, NDOT did run tests, but typically the contractors may not have been running those tests, and they might not have known the properties of their mixture until after NDOT had completed their testing. And so the concept is to balance that. NDOT is still doing the testing on samples taken from the projects. That's to assure the material meets specifications. So it's two parts: contractors controlling their mixture. NDOT is assuring that we are getting mixture that meets specifications. It's a balance of the responsibility for quality between the contractor and NDOT, and that's what this program is all about. The details of the program are included in Indiana Test Method 583 or ITM 583. You'll hear that acronym used throughout the course, and you will find a list of relevant ITMs in the appendix of the manual. I'll get to that in a minute. The Certified Hot Mix Asphalt Producer Program. So as part of all hot mix asphalt sent to NDOT projects are required to come from a certified hot mix asphalt producer. And there's requirements for that program, including documentation, requirements on laboratory and equipment calibration, certain schedule and type of material sampling and testing, requirements to maintain a diary, and requirements to develop and maintain a quality control plan. So the next series of slides I'm going to step through are kind of an overview of the order of things we're going to go through in the course. It mimics the manual you'll see. And this is going to just give you a very high overview of what we're going to talk about. So aggregates are a very important part of hot mix asphalt. Some of you may have attended another one of schools we put on at NDOT, the CAP school, or Certified Aggregate Producer Program school. It's a similar program in that suppliers, producers that make aggregates are required to have a technician as attended that school as well. But as part of this class, we are going to touch on aggregates and their importance in the relation to hot mix asphalt and sampling those aggregates, and then various test methods we're going to perform on the aggregates, including splitting down the sample size, decanting to determine the percentage of fines, the gradation to determine what size. It's very important. Different mixes have different gradations, and gradation can play a very important role on the performance or lack thereof of the mix. We're talking about specific gravity of the aggregates. That's essentially another way of saying a relative density or how heavy they are compared to the same volume of water. That's very important in the design process and something that we monitor throughout production of the mix. Flat and elongated particles in hot mix asphalt, we want the ideal is particles that are cubical, like dice, and where there is a test method to determine how flat or elongated those particles are. There's a limit on how much of that we will accept in hot mix asphalt. A coarse aggregate angularity. This is a test for if aggregates are gravel. If you have a stone from a quarry, it's 100% crushed already. But this is a measure of how crushed that gravel is, and we require our crushed gravel to have a certain amount of angularity for use in hot mix asphalt. Fine aggregate angularity applies to all fine aggregates, and this is a measurement of sand or smaller than a coarse aggregate size. And it's, again, the same kind of idea. We want aggregates that are more angular and less round for rutting resistance and durability in hot mix asphalt. We'll then get to our acceptance specification. So when NDOT takes our hot mix asphalt samples and performs the testing, we need to have a mechanism to calculate. We have a series of penalties and bonuses on whether or not the mix is maybe slightly deficient or is better than what maybe we were asking for. And we utilize a system called percent within limits, or PWL, to calculate that. And we will talk about that during the course. We'll talk about asphalt binder during this course and the manufacture of it and handling and how that goes into the process. The testing of the asphalt binder itself and how that fits in with hot mix asphalt, and PG binder specifications that we use that we'll refer to. PG 64-22 as an example of what we would call our base grade, and then there are other grades that go from there. Mix design. So you can't just start off from nothing with aggregates and asphalt binder and mix them up and hope to get a good good performance. You have to have some knowledge of those materials, and there's a very detailed, specific process that's required to be followed to get a good mix in the end. And so the mix design process is a step-by-step process that we require. We require all mixes to have a mix design performed in accordance with the standards that will ensure we start off from a good place to produce a good mix. Volumetric properties. So the mix design process we require is a volumetric process, and really what that means is that all the properties we're looking at are based on a volume basis. We do a lot of the testing based on weights or masses because it's easier to do. So we have to convert between mass and volume a lot because we actually design based on volume. How much binder is there surrounding the aggregates in a sample, for instance. So we will definitely touch on that in this course. The specific design process we use is called SuperPave. It was developed approximately 25 or 30 years ago. We've made some modifications to that since then, but it's the same basic procedure. And really what it is, again, is just steps in the process to develop a good performing asphalt mixture. We'll talk about hot mix asphalt plants, the different types of plants, batch plants and drum plants. As you can see here in these photos, examples of each of those. Plant operations and the various components of an asphalt plant and how they interact, where aggregates get added to cold feed bins and recycled material gets added and binder, and some of the operations and some things that could affect positively and negatively those operations. And including the inspection of those plants and maybe troubleshooting some things. We'll touch on warm mix, although this is pretty ubiquitous now. At one time, this was fairly new. Most plants are equipped with a foaming device for producing warm mix, whether or not it's done at lower temperatures or not. The way we obtain our samples for QCQA hot mix asphalt is through plate sampling, and we will talk about that during this course. An example here is what we do. We lay plates out and prior to the paver going over top of them, and then we pull those plates up, and that's what we use for our samples. Our density measurements are also are actually taken with cores, and this is an example of a core being taken, a large core bit, approximately 6 inches, and we drill a core out of the road, and that's how we measure the in-place compaction or the density of the hot mix asphalt. We will talk about the laboratory equipment, and we have some videos this week on some of the test methods that you will see. Um, and here's an example of some of the equipment used in a hot mix asphalt laboratory. We'll talk about the annual plant audits. So every year, if you're coming to this course and you're going to be working at a hot mix asphalt plant, one of the biggest times you will interact directly with NDOT is when we come and we perform our annual plant audits. And what those are, we have a checklist, and we're coming out to check your documentation, check your calibration on your equipment, and check to make sure that a lot of things we require as part of the certified hot mix asphalt producer program is in order and is correct. Again, we check equipment calibration verification. You can see here, this is a scale balance being verified with weights. And then finally, we have a section on quality control troubleshooting and some of the things that can happen during quality control process that may be things you can look for to cause a problem. This is an example of one from a few years ago where you might be having some problems with gradation, or maybe something is if your voids aren't behaving like you think. Are your stockpiles separated enough? These two materials on the left and right are actually different materials, even though they look similar from a different source, and so there are different properties of these aggregates, and you need to know these sorts of things and actually mitigate an example like this, and find more space for your material. Know what your materials are. This was an example of a hand-drawn sign prior to an audit. They realized we were coming to do an audit, and their QCP required that they have signs at their stockpiles, and they didn't clearly, and so they did some handwriting of signs. This can be a problem with your loader operator. If you don't have signs, is he loading the right material into the cold feed bins? Are the deliveries from the quarry, are they being delivered to the right stockpile? So, and clearly that can happen during the course of the audit. The sign can fall down, written on the back of a sample box. So this is a couple example of things that we'll be talking about with quality control troubleshooting. So as I mentioned earlier, all hot mix asphalt produced for an NDOT contract is required to come from a certified hot mix asphalt plant. And as part of the program, certified plants are required to have a certified technician. So if you're at this course and you work for a hot mix asphalt company, that is you. So that's what we're going to be focused on this week, is learning a lot about that. I know some of you watching this are not at an asphalt plant. We provide a lot of good education. So there are some folks here probably from NDOT, maybe some other entity that is attending this. It doesn't mean you're not going to learn a lot, but the program was originally designed to focus on training those certified technicians at the asphalt plant. So this is a slide that I've gotten to now. I do admit this can be complicated, talking about different terminology that honestly a thesaurus would tell you are the same terms. So we have terms that we throw around like certified technician and qualified technician, and you might think they're the same thing, but in our nomenclature they're not. So I want to take a little bit of time here to explain the differences and how they fit together for this program. So by attending this course and passing the exam that comes at the end of the course, you become a certified technician. And what that means is, again, you can you've gone through this program, you've become certified, but actually you can supervise the program at a particular location, but you cannot perform the actual tests. And there's a second part of that that is a parallel program, and it's actually a program that NDOT puts on to perform that you can actually run the tests. And so each specific test method, of which there are quite a few, somewhere between 8 to 10, depending on what test you're running at your given location, you have to be qualified, where we actually give a shorter exam at one of our district offices that's focused on the tests, and then we will observe you performing the tests. At that point, you become qualified. And so you see two things up here. You say, well, you're certified if you pass the course, the ICAT course. You're qualified if you pass NDOT's requirements to be qualified. So what happens if you're both? Well, we call that level 1 if you're both qualified and certified, and you can do everything. So just to summarize, a qualified technician is someone who can perform the test, has satisfied NDOT's requirement for that, but you couldn't satisfy the other parts of this program, which would be such as filling out the daily diary and acting as a certified technician as required for the program, and then vice versa. So again, it can be complicated to understand. If you have questions, it can be something you ask of one of the instructors at some point along the line, or talk to someone at NDOT, and we can help you out with it. So steps to remain compliant. This has changed over the years, and we used to have a slightly different program. If you heard about it, I won't focus on that, but I'll say what we do now. And so essentially, certification is good for life. Once you've passed this class, this ICAT, you stay certified for life. We've talked about adding continuing education. We've not done that yet, but for now, this is how it works. So you pass the exam at the end of the course, you'll be certified. To be a level 1 technician and maintain that, you need to just maintain your qualified technician status, which is on a 2-year cycle of our observations and comparison testing that we do. So that's essentially it. Again, if you want more information, please talk to someone with NDOT and we can get you that information. All right, I want to touch a little bit on safety. This is something that your respective companies or organizations can definitely help you out a lot more with, but we do want to talk about safety when it comes to asphalt for people that are very new. And there are 2 main hazards with safety in the asphalt industry. It's the risk of fire or explosion hazards, and health hazards due to eye contact. If it wasn't obvious from the term hot mix asphalt, to be able to get liquid binder, to get binder into a more liquid form to coat and make hot mix asphalt, you have to get the asphalt really hot. And so most of the health hazards come with the heat aspect of it, whether it's fire or skin contact. There is some with inhalation of fumes, yes, situations of high heat, their generation of fumes. We'll talk about that a little this week. But those are the 2 main hazards. So the fire, again, asphalt's often heated to high temperatures. It's important in the vicinity of asphalt to control possible sources of ignition, and so as not to cause the asphalt to combust. With the other health hazards, in the presence of asphalt, be it asphalt binder, asphalt mix, safety glasses, goggles, face shield, depending on the test, or the exposure are recommended. For certain fumes, either improve the ventilation or respirators are recommended when in contact with fumes. And then with skin contact, definitely recommended to wear long sleeve shirts or sleeve attachments when you're working with asphalt, or long gloves is an option, something that covers your forearms, even if I know the labs are hot, but that's an important thing to do. Full high top safety boots and pants on the top of the boots. Maybe years ago, just like a lot of things were more lax. People wearing sandals, whatever. That's not the best practice, not a good idea anymore. So what do you do if you get hot asphalt on your skin? Don't try to remove it. The first reaction might be to try to pull it off your skin. Don't do that, or typically you'll pull the skin with it. That's not what you want to be doing. So apply cold or lukewarm water to remove the heat from the asphalt as quickly as possible. With major burns, lukewarm water is better. Don't bandage the burned area, and get medical attention immediately. So that is the end of the introduction. This is what we're all trying to do: paint these roads black. And so with that, I'm going to go ahead and move on to the next.